Hey, it's Ekma. Back in the summer of 2022, around July or so, I had questions with a lot of things. I was thinking about who I really am and how I interact with the world, what I want, so on. This led to two revelations that both changed my life and my perspective of who I am. One of those questions was, am I neurodivergent? Specifically, did I have autism spectrum disorder? Which is basically just autism. The problem with getting a medical diagnosis for it is that it takes a lot of money to get screening done, and the whole process in general. Another issue is that I would have to bring a binder full of evidence, and personally, I just don't want to do that. This led to what's called self-diagnosis. Instead of explaining why it's fine, I'll just tell you to refer to this video here, which goes over the whole thing better than I could. The main issue is I really wanted to be accurate and thorough, and so I spent a good year of online tests and self-reflection, as well as receiving input from my many neurodivergent friends. But blankly, they told me if I wasn't autistic, they would be pretty surprised, as I apparently have so many autistic traits that it isn't even funny. So, this is what this video is about. All my autism traits. So, you know those 3D effect cards that you would sometimes get as a child, and they would change pictures as you kind of move them around, and you would often get them for your birthday or Valentine's Day when like you were a child or so? Yeah, I hate those. It makes me shiver, and I'm immediately repulsed. Touching guitar strings doesn't exactly hurt my fingers, but it really does have that same effect as those 3D effect cards. I don't like them at all. I don't like guitar strings. I also have many sensory issues revolving around food and drinks that some people think that I'm not even human, such as hating dairy, like cheese, milk, cream, yogurt, ice cream, the whole nine really, despite being lactose tolerant. I'm repulsed by white liquids. Stringy food makes me gag. Thinking about people while eating makes me repulsed, and I stop eating. Every time I hear cream, count me out of the conversation. I have nothing in it. I don't want to do. I don't want to be in it. Any liquids on food scares the shit out of me. Unknown food on dishes meant to be cleaned is a nightmare for me. I'm always moving a part of my body, like moving my legs, arms, fingers, playing with something, or a combination of all of them. Holding a pencil up to my nose, but not touching it, makes my nose and eyes hurt, despite the fact that it really shouldn't be. Wanting a badge to say if I'm in the mood to speak, or be spoken to by certain people in case I shut down from sensory overload. Having signs on doors that say if it can, should, or shouldn't be opened, instead of relying on scarce, unreliable signs. Having headphones on no matter where I go unless I physically can't. If lights are kinda bright, around the same brightness as stoplights, I feel compelled to shut my eyes and not take in any light at all. Driving is a sensory nightmare with so many stuff going on. Lights, having to pay attention to 5 things at once, and being unable to trust yourself or anyone else. Being really attached to things no one else would or should. Doing LFS or Linux from scratch. Doing LFS 5+ times. Refusing to do automated LFS. Daily driving LFS. Wanting an info dump about LFS. Making a game engine because every other game engine is confusing to me. Always fantasizing, like thinking of Geometry Dash layout ideas. Fictional scenarios would be like to have my own tail. No such luck yet. Most of my friends being neurodivergent unintentionally, being trans. Not knowing what I am going to do ahead of time kicks my life into disarray, despite not exactly adhering to a strict routine, but rather a basic one. Loose clothing really bothers me, pants being the most uncomfortable piece of clothing to ever exist in my opinion. Skirts feeling really weird to wear, being absolutely terrible at speaking and unable to communicate my ideas effectively compared to everyone else. Having an extremely uneven skill set, like knowing how to compile software, but have absolutely no clue on how a car works. I just know that starts, and that's all I need to know. Until it breaks down, and then I'm screwed. Watching the same video or movie over and over and over again. Listening to the same song over and over and over again. Not realizing I haven't ate at all that day when being invested in Baldur's Gate 3 for 14 hours straight. Hair being in front of my face is a sensory nightmare. I don't like it at all. Social cues and sarcasm flying into a mountain behind me and not noticing that there was a fucking explosion. Staring intensely into someone's eyes when it does not come naturally at all. Having a masking mode and a fucking autistic mode. I prefer bright, vibrant colors. I prefer cartoons. Lastly, I really love dragons, and whenever I see human art, I go, ew. I don't like human art, I like dragon art. There are many other things that are much more personal to me that only I would really understand and might talk about them later, but as I said, really personal. So, for now, that's all I'm gonna say. Sleep well, peeps.